So we have an interesting rumor about Ubisoft today, and this one is interesting because it really is an overall conversation that we need to be having about what's happening over in the AAA gaming scene, where certain companies are just making really bad, obvious business decisions that they should not be making, and yet they continue to make them, and everybody's looking around like, why is this happening? Why is any of this happening? None of us seem to have any concrete answers, but ultimately what we know ends up happening is that the company ends up tanking a lot of the time, right? The company ends up getting closed down. Some studios get closed down, or if they're too big, like Ubisoft, for example, they end up getting bought out because their IPs are worth more money than the company themselves. Well, there's a new rumor about Ubisoft and how they apparently are intentionally pushing Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows with the knowledge that it's going to tank the company's stock price so that Tencent could take over.
So long, gay boys!
Now, again, ladies and gentlemen, that is one hell of a claim to make because everybody has known for a long time that Tencent has had its eyes on Ubisoft's IPs. For some reason, they want Ubisoft real bad, and they're one of the primary investors right now in Ubisoft. So if Ubisoft were to try to go private, or if Ubisoft were to try to sell, you are pretty much guaranteed that Tencent is going to be one of the highest bidders, if not the highest bidder, to purchase this company and take it for themselves. So let's get into this article, guys, to that part, for that part place. But of course, before we do, if you are new here, just consider hitting that subscribe button. I would greatly appreciate it, and like the video to push us out into that YouTube algorithm. So it says a new rumor alleges that Ubisoft intentionally promoted Yasuke in Assassin's Creed Shadows so that the company's stock price would tank and allow Tencent to more easily take over the company. YouTuber Endymion shared that an alleged insider shared with him that Ubisoft was using the implementation of this character into their game to steer the public reception of not only Shadows, but Ubisoft as a company in general towards a scenario that would actually lead to a buyout. Now, I feel like of all things, Assassin's Creed, that's the game you want to die on, right? Because I feel like Assassin's Creed is going to sell pretty decently no matter what kind of nonsense they push, right? Because a lot of the Ubisoft shills who buy Assassin's Creed on day one and spend maximum price for a game that's going to go on sale in 30 days for 75% off, yeah, most of them are pretty retarded. So I really don't think that that's a good strategy, right? I feel like you can more easily tank your company with a game like Star Wars Outlaws, for example, where there wasn't any shills, right? It's a brand new game, and they had a license that is basically going into the ground. Star Wars is dying every single day. We see that numerically speaking and analytically speaking, we see it. But still, I feel like you're more likely to tank your company with Star Wars Outlaws than you would have been with Assassin's Creed Shadows, because I've always said since day one, I feel like Assassin's Creed Shadows was going to sell more than Star Wars Outlaws, even though both of them were mired in controversy. I didn't think that Assassin's Creed Shadows was going to sell less, but maybe because the budget's higher. Who really knows? I don't know. But ultimately, I feel like that wouldn't have been a good decision to try to tank your company with, because you're always going to have the shills that are going to buy Assassin's Creed on day one anyway. Then he explained, as I was told, Tencent allegedly was a big pusher of Yasuke becoming the main character of Shadows. Of course they were. Of course they were. Tencent, you think Tencent has a black lead in any of their video games that they own? Of course not. But they're going to try to push for a black lead in one of their non-games that they don't own? Yeah, sure. Of course. They know what they're doing, man. That's actually pretty interesting. If this is true, then that is actually genius. Ubisoft, of course, was considering the idea, but Tencent was really the ones that pushed that vision into reality. Allegedly, Yasuke was pushed because Tencent knew the inclusion of his character as a leading man in the Japanese Assassin's game would raise many eyebrows and cause public outcry, which, I mean, they're right. It did exactly that, he continued. And the discussion surrounding the game has not died down since, for good reason. As I'm told, decisions like implementing Yasuke, which would lead to many boycotting the game, was something pushed by Tencent investors to purposely tank Ubisoft in order to weaken the company towards an acquisition, effectively leading to Ubisoft becoming far weaker, worth far less than it should be, and placing itself plump and ready for Tencent to waltz in and swallow the entire company whole and obtain them, he stated. Listen, if this is true, that is insane. That is chess to the max. I really don't know what to say other than that. If Tencent genuinely did that, and again, is that possible? Sure. Is that likely? Probably not. But it's definitely possible, right? Because a company like this doesn't get this big without knowing a couple of tricks up their sleeves and how to manipulate stocks and whatnot. And this is actually extremely intelligent, because if that's true, then that means Tencent pays attention to the overall conversations that are happening in the industry that they're investing in, which again, that's what you should be doing, right? If you're an investor, you should know what's happening in the industry that you're investing in. If you don't and you're investing blind, well, a fool is parted with his money. So that's basically it. Then it says, as noted by Endymion in his video, Slovakian investment firm AJ Investments has accused both Ubisoft and Tencent of purposely tanking the company in order to lower the stock price to allow the Guillemot family and Tencent to purchase shares at a reduced price. Now, this thing right here, I made a video on this before, the Slovakian investment firm AJ. I made a video on this before, and now that I'm looking at this again and thinking about this rumor with Tencent, it does start to make sense, right? It all starts to kind of come together and make you realize, damn, there is some 3D chess that is happening right now behind the scenes when it comes to Ubisoft. I'm telling you right now, in the next probably 2 years or so, we're probably going to see, 2 years or less, we're probably going to see an announcement about a buyout regarding Ubisoft. I got to imagine that they're on their last leg. There's no way they can continue like this. They have gone as far as they're going to be able to go with the nonsense they've been pushing. Star Wars Outlaws was a massive failure. They sold a little over 1 million copies, but their budget is way too damn big. Now you got Assassin's Creed Shadows that was delayed because they can't take another L. You got Skull and Bones losing $800-something million. Even if you don't believe the $800-something million, guys, I need you to understand, even at 400 million, half of that number, it's still a massive failure. Even at 250 million, right? 1/4 of that number, it's still a massive failure because they didn't sell enough copies and their budget was ridiculous because it was developed over 10 years and was reset like 3 or 4 times. So the game was such a massive, massive failure that it lost Ubisoft an insane amount of money. They couldn't afford to take that hit, but you know what? They took the risk anyway and put the game out there for whatever reason, because these companies think if they make a live service game, it just means that everybody's going to flock to go buy it, right? Everybody's going to flock to go play it. Oh, another live service game? Gee, I can't wait to play that. It's so dumb. It's unbelievably dumb. But again, this is what I was saying in the beginning of the video. Why are they making these decisions that everybody looking from the outside in is saying, gee, bro, that's kind of a bad choice. Why are you doing that? And yet they still do it. These multi-million-dollar companies, multi-billion-dollar companies are making decisions that most people who make $50K a year would not fucking make. And it doesn't make any sense. Why are you doing this? But okay, it is what it is. The firm alleged in an open letter in September, we believe the Guillemot family and Tencent are discounting potential value of Ubisoft in order to buy more shares at lower valuation and eventually take full control of the company at a heavily discounted valuation. It makes you wonder, if this firm, right, is saying these things, it makes you wonder about who's the informant over at Endymion's channel, right? Because the informant is saying the exact same thing that the firm is saying. So it just makes you wonder, is it potentially an investor of some kind? Who really knows? But again, they very clearly believe that Tencent is trying to work their way into this game to end up buying this game, to end up buying this company. I'm sorry, they're trying to work their way into this company more to try to buy it. And they are right now one of the majority shareholders, if I'm not mistaken. So it's not too shocking to see that they want to take the company completely. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.